Well, g'day curd nerds, I'm Gavin Webber, and today we're going to be making traditional mozzarella. Yes, that's mozzarella. Well, as you can see, I'm set up outdoors today and I'm making traditional mozzarella. This is the one where we ripen it with a starter culture. I'm not cheating, I'm not doing a quick mozzarella which acidifies the cheese with citric acid. There's no citric acid to be seen here in front of me, and I'm adding in some lipase to add in a piquant flavour into the mozzarella cheese. So anyway, let's get on with how we make mozzarella. So the ingredients are 8 litres of full cream milk, 1/4 teaspoon of thermophilic culture, 1/8 teaspoon of lipase, 1.5 mils of calcium chloride, 1.5 mils of liquid rennet, 2 teaspoons of cheese salt, a bowl of ice water, and an 18% saturated brine solution. Now you need some special equipment. You'll need a pH meter or a Duo test pH paper, heavy duty rubber gloves, a large plastic tub or a stainless steel bowl, ice for your iced water bath, and lots of patience. So you'll need to bring the milk up to temperature of 30 degrees Celsius or 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Then we're going to be adding in our starter culture, and this will help acidify our milk. So this is our thermophilic culture. We're going to adding in our 1/4 teaspoon of thermophilic. So sprinkle that all over the top. And we're going to let that rehydrate now for 5 minutes. Just pop the lid back on. I'll do that out of camera. Anyway. So now we're going to increase the temperature to 32 degrees Celsius or 90 Fahrenheit. Don't have to do that slowly, just do that as quick as you can. Check the temperature with your thermometer. So we're at 32 degrees there now, which is good, and we're going to ripen that for between 60 and 90 minutes, or until the pH reaches 6.4. Now in my case it took 90 minutes. I tested at 60 minutes, it just wasn't quite there. At 90 minutes it was, and you'll see how I do that in a minute. I'll just give that a quick stir. So I'm testing with my Duo test paper, just the smallest amount of paper, and check the colour against the little colour chart that you get with the paper. So it's at 6.4 and we can continue on now. So we're going to add the lipase, which was diluted in 1/8 cup of water. Now we have to do this 20 minutes before we add this to the milk, so it was well before that. So adding in the lipase there, give that a good stir for at least 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. Now I've sped this footage right up. So then we're going to add the next ingredient, which is calcium chloride, because I'm using pasteurised milk. So this just fortifies the milk, adds some more soluble calcium back in, so it will set a better curd. So to stir that in. Now we're going to let the lipase do its thing, so we're going to let that rest for 5 minutes. So 5 minutes later, we get to add the final ingredient, which is rennet. So give it a stir for no more than 1 minute. Now in normal traditional mozzarella they use raw milk and they use kid rennet from a goat, baby goat. Anyway, we're going to allow those curds to set for 30 minutes. And that has the lipase in it and gives it a piquant flavour already. So the curd has set well and truly. We're testing for a clean break here. And because they use raw milk, there we go, there's a nice clean break. I'll continue on because they use raw milk. They don't need to add a starter culture. So we're having to put those bits in because I'm using pasteurised milk. Anyway, we're going to cut the curd to 1.25 centimetres or half-inch cubes. I just cut the horizontals there with my curd cutter. I'm doing the verticals with my curd knife. If you don't have a curd cutter, you'll have to do it at 45-degree angles to get the best horizontal shapes you can. Now, I didn't think they were small enough, so I did them again. Go. We're going to allow those to rest and heal so they don't become a sloppy mess. And we're going to let those rest for 5 minutes. Oh, 10 minutes. Got excited there. Sorry about that. Okay, 10 minutes has elapsed. Now before I go any further, I'll just check the temperature. It should still be at roughly about 32 plus or minus 1 degrees. It'll be fine. There's 31 something there. Now we're going to raise the temperature to 37 degrees Celsius or 99 Fahrenheit over the next 15 minutes, stirring gently. So initially we're just kind of lifting the curd just so it breaks the cubes apart. And then we stir. So this is after 15 minutes. You can see the curd size has shrunk considerably. But they're still fairly large. I would say they're probably about a centimetre cube, maybe just a little bit under. Just checking the temperature there. It is at 37 degrees Celsius, which is spot on. And we're just going to cover that because we're going to let it settle at that temperature for 1 hour. Now I'm going to hand over to Gavin for the rest of the video. Well, we're up to the pouring stage now. I'm going to drain it through the cheesecloth. We've been letting it sit there for 60 odd minutes. And we're going to see, it's going to pour into a slab, and then we're going to see if we can get the pH down to between 5.3 to 5 pH, which is the optimum stretching pH. So let's see how we go now. So I've got a bucket underneath, and I don't know how full it's going to get. We'll see how that goes, before it overflows. Just stop there for a sec. We have to save some of this whey because we're going to use it to heat up. No, it's not too bad. Use it to heat up to stretch our curds. There we go. Get it all out. So it came out nicely, one big lump. I'm happy with that. So I'm not going to let that drain now, and I'm going to put the lid over it, and that's going to drain. And we're going to let that sit. I'm going to turn that every hour or so until we get the pH right down. As I said, to 5.3 to 5, which is fairly acidic. And that time we should be able to stretch it. We're going to heat the whey then up to about 77 to 80 degrees Celsius, and we should be able to stretch it under that heat. Anyway, let me just get the lid and we'll put that back on. And that'll lock the heat in and keep the curds nice and warm sitting over that whey. Let's just take the extra colander out of the way. There we go. So that's not actually sitting in the way, so that should be all good. I'll set that for an hour and we'll come back to it. Set timer for 1 hour.
Done. I love a good countdown.
I love one too. It's the final countdown. Well, I'm having a fabulous time here tonight. It's just started to rain outside. I don't know if you can hear it on the tin roof. Hopefully the audio is not too bad. Now we've come up to about the 45-minute mark. I put it back onto the steel pot. All the whey's back in here again, keeping the curds warm. I put it back into the colander. I've taken the cheesecloth away, just so the heat goes directly onto the curds, just to keep it warm, and it keeps lowering the pH, so the acidity starts to rise. Now, what I'm going to do is just test the acidity with my pH strip. I'm just going to break off a bit of curd. Give it a good squeeze. There's no whey coming from that. And I'm basically pressing it into the curd. There we go. So let's just check the colour. So it says about 6.2. I'll just check that again. It's very hard to tell. I'm just using a pair of tweezers. These are just some of absconded from my wife's beauty kit. Let's get rid of that piece of curd. It's a bit ordinary. Let's try a different piece. Now, if I had a pH meter, it would make it a lot easier, but I'm yet to get one of those. There we go. It actually says between 6.2 and 5.9, so I think we're at the right pH. So that's only after about 45 minutes, so I reckon we'll give stretching the curd a go. Anyway, what can hurt? So I'll heat up some water and we'll get stuck into it. I'll just let that rest out the way for a moment, clean this up and we'll see what happens. Well, I'm back again. I've had to move into the kitchen. It was raining so hard outside that I couldn't hear myself speak. It's now 11 o'clock at night. I was just looking at the clock on the wall, and I've got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the Anzac Day dawn service. So I'm heating up the whey to 40 degrees Celsius so I can put the curds back on top just to stay warm overnight, and I'm going to have to come back to it in the morning. I made a mistake in the last segment. the pH was down to 6.0. I needed to get down to 5.3, so it's got to go down even further. So we're not even close to getting to stretching the curd. So we'll see what happens when we get up in the morning after I come back from the Anzac Day ceremony. So I should be back by about 7 a.m. and we'll see if the pH is at the right setting and we'll go from there. Anyway, see you later. Well, g'day curd nerds, we're back again. This is the next morning. It's, I don't know what the time is, 8 o'clock I think. And we're just going to check the curds to see if the pH level's right. So let's do that now. So I got my little bit of Duo test paper, or litmus paper, for those who want to know the correct name of it. I'll just pinch off a little bit of curd. Now it's been sitting on top of some warm whey. Here's the slab here. Not very much, but it's still a fair bit. I think it's going to make one wicked mozzarella. It started to go a yellow colour or orange colour, as this sort of cheese will tend to do. Come here, you pesky little bugger. I'm trying not to get any liquid on the paper before I test it. Rightio. So squeeze as much whey as I can out of it. I hold it onto the curd to get the colour to change. There we go. That's as damp as it's going to get. Rightio, let's just check the colour. And it looks like it's about 5.1, so that's fantastic. So we needed to get to between 5.3 and 5.1, so we're spot on, ready to go to stretch the curd. So the next thing we'll have to do, let's get that out the way, is we're going to have to cut up the slab. So I'll just get this out the way. I'm just going to move the whey out the way. So I've got our tray here, which is clean. And I've got a bowl of iced water there as well, which I'll just move out the way. So many things on the go here to make this cheese. So just putting our slab down. Right, and we're back. I've got my trusty knife. I'll just quickly sanitise that with some white vinegar. And we'll cut this up into, what have I got written on my instructions here? 2 centimetre cubes, so that's about just under an inch. Now the reason we're cutting the slab up into cubes is because it makes it easier for the curd to melt, and you will have to form it into a ball later on, but it certainly increases the surface area of the curd, so hence makes it easier to melt.
Which is pretty cool. Anyway, so we've got our cubes of mozzarella, of curd, and that's ready to go into some hot whey. So we'll just keep that aside there for a sec. I'm going to stretch the curds into this bowl here. So I'll keep my ice water just out the way. So I'm going to put my curds in here, and we're going to put the hot whey into here, and I'm going to stretch. Now I've got the use of some lovely, very thick and heavy rubber gloves here. So that'll be interesting. Now before I do, I'm going to put some salt into the pan. And trouble with making cheese outside is there's always some, well, here in Australia anyway, some little insects flying around. So here's my 2 teaspoons of salt. Just going to put that into my stretching tub. Right, so now we're going to be heating up the whey that I had left over from last night that was warming up the curds overnight to get it down to the right pH level. We're going to be heating this up to 77 Celsius, which is 170 Fahrenheit. So this is going to take a little bit of time, so I'll see you in a minute. Rightio, the whey has just come up to temperature. I've got it sitting at about 77, 78 degrees Celsius, which is 170 Fahrenheit. So I'll just turn that off now. And before we do anything further, we're just going to crumble the whey pieces. I think I cut them too large, so I'm just going to crumble them into the tub. This breaks the curd up a little bit better, makes it probably easier to melt too. Seeing this is the first time I've done this, I've made quick mozzarella probably about 50 times. Do it every time we have a beginner's cheese workshop. It's the cheese that we make during that, one of the 3 cheeses we make during that anyway. So anyway, so we'll crumble this up. I'm basically breaking the blocks in half. Now before I go any further, there is actually a test. So because we've got our whey up to temperature, I'll just put on my gloves. These are thick latex gloves, they've got a cotton liner. So you get a small piece of the curd and you put it onto your slotted spoon, put it into the hot whey and don't lose it hopefully. And all things being equal, it starts to get soft, which it is. That's a good sign. Just let this melt a bit more. All right, that's perfect. And we can see that the curd stretches. So we've reached the right pH to stretch the rest of the mozzarella. And as you can see, it stretches a lot. So we're at perfect pH for making mozzarella. Anyway, that's still a good piece of curd. So we'll put that back into the rest of the curd and I'll tip the rest of that in there now. So that's called the stretch test. If you didn't think that your pH paper or your duo test paper or your pH meter was not working properly. So that's how you can tell. Anyway, so I've got my, just toss the salt through that I put in there earlier. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour in 2 litres of this hot whey into the container. Now this is a laundry tub that I have bought purposely for this. So I'm just pouring the hot whey around the outsides. So that's 1 litre. It's 1.5. And that's 2. So that's the same as 2 quarts. There's a stray in there. Right. So I'm just moulding this. Curds is melting now. Just let that melt a bit. Making sure there's no insects or hairs or whatever. This outside cheese making is a bit different from what I'm used to inside, where it's fairly benign conditions. Got to watch out for all sorts of beasties out here. starting to melt, which is good. I'll be able to form it into one big ball of curd. Now these gloves are essential because it is really, really hot. I'm not kidding. If I did this with bare hands, they'd be scalded. So I'll let that sit there for a sec. I'll put it a little bit more whey in just so it's covering. I've got quite a bit in there. There we are. It's got a tendency to float a little bit. Don't want it to cool down too much. So give that time to melt.
Now this part was so much fun. Really enjoyed making sure that all the cubes were combined and stretching the mozzarella curd as much as I wanted to.
I'm basically folding this over and over inside the hot whey just to make sure that all of the cubes are combined. So it doesn't look odd. Because there's nothing worse than grainy mozzarella. Even when you're doing it the quick way, there's nothing worse than grainy mozzarella.
So in my opinion, this is the best part of the whole experience of making traditional mozzarella. It's dunking the warm curd underneath the hot whey and stretching it, and then folding it back over and making the strings of the mozzarella. So you can get it quite large, as you can see there. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So give it a good stretch. Just go for it.
I think we've got a nice big pull there, that's good. That's certainly not snapping. Got some nice strings. So from this stage you could probably go on to make many cheese. You go on to make some string cheese. I've also heard that Armenian string cheese is very similar from here. You go on to form it into string plats. Same texture, same process. But from here I'm going to turn it into ball shapes, into the traditional mozzarella. So I'm going to start now forming into a couple of balls. So I'll just cut this in half. Now it's cooling down a fair bit, so I'm going to dunk it in this one, which is a lot hotter. Oh yeah. In fact, I'll put the other one in here too, now that we've done all the stretching. And I'm basically putting it into the traditional mozzarella shape. And there we go, one mozzarella. So I'll put that into the ice water so it holds its shape. I'll do the next one. last but not least, see how the surface is going nice and shiny? It's starting to split a bit because it's cooling down, but form it into the traditional mozzarella shape. Just keep poking with your thumb, shaping with the palm of your hand. I believe this is how you do it. Be my first go at real mozzarella. And there we go. Hopefully that's another one. There we go, 3 mozzarellas. And once they're out of the ice water, I'll show you what they look like again. So after about 5 minutes in the iced water, we're going to transfer it into the fully saturated brine. So here's one I prepared earlier. This is my normal stock standard brine. You can see that the mozzarella balls are firmed up now, which is really good. So pop them straight into the brine and where they'll float. And I'm going to leave them in there for a couple of hours, and I'll turn those as needs be. Just put that thing on top just to make sure that they stay submerged, and that just stays at room temperature for the next couple of hours. So I'll just set a reminder so I don't forget. Set timer for 2 hours. Alright, looking forward to tasting this mozzarella once it's well and truly salted. Well, here's the moment of truth, curd nerds. We've got our mozzarella in the brine and we're just about to pop it open. Let's have a look. One, two, oh well, very stable. And 3. Yeah, I'll pop the brine away, we'll use that for later on. So interesting little things. Probably turn those into cavalli, which are cheese on horseback, and tie them up and let them dry out. But this recipe I didn't use the appropriate starter cultures for that type of cheese. But anyway, so I'm going to put these two aside and we're going to taste test this fresh mozzarella. Do I cut the head off or do I just start at the bottom? Decisions. All right, let's go for the side. Oh, that looks nice. So you can see all the stringy fibres. Oh, that is amazing. The difference in flavour between this and the quick mozzarella, it's just like chalk and cheese. Like this is the cheese and the other one's chalk. It took a long time, but I'll tell you what, this is worth it. Absolutely delicious. I could eat this all day. Have a little stringy fibres, just amazing. I love it when a plan comes together. So I brined this for 2 hours. Each cheese was probably about 500, 600 grams maybe, which is about right for that weight of cheese in an 18% brine solution. Delicious. So these will keep for about 3 weeks. I'll wrap them up. I might even try to vac pack one of them and see how that goes. But mozzarella is definitely a fresh cheese. Very difficult to age mozzarella. So I will, in future videos, I'll make a provolone. In fact, I'm going to make one of those in a session later on today. But you'll see that video come out very soon. Anyway, thank you for watching this traditional mozzarella video. I hope you enjoyed it and saw how different the process was to quick mozzarella. Now, if you want to see how to make quick mozzarella, then just click through over here. Also, don't forget that you can pick up the ingredients, the kits to make these cheeses, all at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. You can click through over here and see that. Thanks for watching, Curd Nerds, and we'll see you next time.